Anniversary is a terrible word to use when you're marking the time since a terrible event. So 2 years after the fiery crash of a Flight for Life helicopter in Frisco, Colorado, we'll abstain from using that term. But investigative reporter Chris Vanderveen, 2 years into his project fueling the fire, does have a few thoughts on the significance of this day.
2.74 seconds.
Flight for Life helicopter just crashed.
That was it. About the amount of time I need to read this sentence.
The helicopter just went down.
2.74 seconds from impact to fuel loss. If you remember anything about this story, remember that, because that's how quickly the fates of the 3 people on board were sealed. All 3 survived the crash, only to find themselves caught in a burning helicopter. 2 years ago, the questions began. 2 years later, after talking to people in California, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Washington, D.C., we can say we know so much more. We know, for example, that nearly every time a helicopter catches fire after impact, it's because it's not equipped with a crash-resistant fuel system. We know the National Transportation Safety Board has, for decades, repeatedly warned the Federal Aviation Administration of the dangers associated with helicopter fuel systems. And we know, even today, the vast majority of helicopters in use have fuel systems not capable of surviving otherwise survivable crashes. Which is why I want to bring up this interview I did with one of the country's leading researchers on this subject back in 2015.
If nothing happens fast, more people are going to die.
Absolutely. And more people are going to be severely burned.
6 months after that interview aired,
I saw the guy rolling out of the helicopter screaming,
A post-crash fire killed 5 in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Today in Frisco, a memorial exists in the location where the Flight for Life went down. It stands in honor of pilot Patrick Mahaney, who died, and flight nurses Matt Bowe and Dave Repsher, who survived. Repsher did so with burns on more than 90% of his body.
Helicopter just went down. We do have that report.
Blame it all on 2.74 seconds and a fire that, by all accounts, never needed to happen.
Just last week, a pair of members of Colorado's congressional delegation introduced legislation to close the loophole identified in Chris's stories. Well, you probably have many questions right now, like, what time do the fireworks at Coors Field start? When am I going to barbecue tomorrow? And why does Kyle look so funny? But the question we'll try to answer first is, why would someone vandalize the Freedom Memorial on 4th of July weekend, no less?
So here we are out at the beautiful Colorado Freedom Memorial, a glass-walled monument that honors all Colorado veterans killed in action since we became a state. Just over 6,000 names on the memorial. Over half of them never came back home, so there's no gravesite for a family to grieve, so they come here. Even if we just take a few moments out of our day, every now and then, to come out here and sit and just go, man, that there were people that thought that much about their country and freedom, that they were willing to do this for me. So this morning, I came out here to tidy up, as I do a lot of mornings, and I came up and around the corner and got, a few feet away and noticed that something wasn't right. The one panel just had a different shine to it, and then I got up to it and noticed that it was completely shattered. I mean, completely shattered, and my heart just sunk. There's an obvious impact point on the glass, so it's apparent that something hit it pretty forcefully. The panel that was shattered is the smallest glass panel on the memorial, and it's $40,000. You believe in the good of people, you believe that it's going to be safe, that people will understand what it is and what it represents and won't touch it, but that belief was shattered this morning along with the panel. This won't stop what we do. This will only further encourage me to get after it. There's some families it's a little harder for them to celebrate this weekend. They'll be proud that the reason we celebrate is because of their loved one's sacrifice, but always keep them a little close, right next to the potato salad.
Aurora police are investigating the damage at the Colorado Freedom Memorial. APD and Crime Stoppers are each offering rewards of up to $2,000 for information that leads to an arrest. Think about that. $4 grand to make a phone call and lose a friend you shouldn't have anyway. Well, it's never good to be told you're a disaster, but Jefferson County, congrats. You're a disaster. The May 8th hailstorm that was bad enough to open up the Colorado Mills roof is officially bad enough to open up the government's piggy bank. But the money is not free. For anyone who has damage that was not covered by insurance, like maybe fidget spinners at the mall, or maybe your home coverage wasn't as good as you thought, you can apply for a small interest loan backed by Uncle Sam. The losses covered by insurance are still estimated at $1.4 billion. U.S. senators are off this week at home for the 4th of July holiday. That means Governor John Hickenlooper does not have to go to Washington, D.C. like he did last week to get the attention of Senators Michael Bennet and Cory Gardner. So what was that trip about anyway? I went to the governor's mansion just a few hours ago to find out. You were in Washington, D.C. last week. On Monday, you were at the Western Governors Association in Montana. Wednesday, you had to be in Aspen. Why did you go to Washington, D.C.?
Because it was the one day that would work for Governor John Kasich and myself to both be able to get into our schedules to go. The National Press Club wanted to have a press event around having a Republican governor and a Democratic governor who are both opposed to the Senate version of a new health care bill. And and I still believe, I think it's important to have a bipartisan solution.
What's so wrong with the state picking up what the feds won't?
Well, it would be a large chunk. It would not be a small chunk. So we're talking like $1 billion a year is what the number I see. And that puts us into difficult decisions. I mean, it really does begin to get into life or death decisions. It also, we're Tabor, so we'd have to go to the vote of the people. Either that or we'd have to take all the money out of higher education, take a bunch of money out of corrections, and a bunch of money out of K-12 education to make up that $1 billion. I mean, our general fund budget is, that's almost 10% of our general fund budget.
It becomes a conversation of who should be on Medicaid. So who should be on Medicaid?
Right. And so most of the people that were added on were young people or people with disabilities, older people that were in one way or another incapacitated. Well, those are hard people to take off. Again, I understand we can't continue to have increasing healthcare costs. I just don't think we want to roll back coverage because you really do put some people at risk of, dramatically less productive lives and more pain and in some cases, and I don't know how many there are, but in some cases death.
Tomorrow you'll hear more from the governor. Here at Next, we're better than asking if he's running for president. We don't need a canned answer, but we ask him how anyone sitting at home will know he's running for president before even we do. Today's next question is one you'll be asking in a few hours. When you report illegal fireworks in your neighborhood, how do authorities respond to those calls? And does anyone ever get in trouble? Let's go to my hometown first, Aurora, where 2 house fires from Saturday were blamed on fireworks. Aurora fire arson investigators were there because they just so happened to be on fireworks patrol that started this weekend. If you're caught with fireworks, shame on you, and you're getting a ticket. Aurora has a zero-tolerance policy and is not giving warnings. That trip to Wyoming for those fireworks will cost you more than just gas. The courts can fine you between $250 and $2,600, and as you see, Aurora has 324 fireworks complaints this year. In Denver, we know you'll call police to report people setting off fireworks. Catching them in the act is not as easy. Denver police ticketing someone depends on whether or not the officers see the fireworks getting shot off or if they can even catch someone with them. In Denver, fines only go up to $1,000, but it could also come with jail time. We asked police if fireworks can mess with their shot spotter system. It's that system that detects gunshots in neighborhoods. Police say they do not because the system, unlike our ear, is specifically calibrated for gunshots. Holy sheep! You think your holiday traffic was rough? Maybe not compared to the most Colorado thing we saw today. If you want to second guess your workout schedule, we'll introduce you to a man who has run marathons in more places than you've likely visited. And 70 years of marriage. Sounds almost impossible, but not for Ferd and Gene Mueller. Next.
Marshall? Who's Marshall?
Marshall? Oh, he was that star investigative and political reporter over at Channel 7 for years.
The guy over there?
Oh, no, wait, no, that dude was, he was Mitchell.
He's not an intern? Oh, man, I made him go get my coffee, like, for months.
most Colorado thing we saw today. Well, you thought traffic on I-25 was bad. Just like that joke. Did you know that a flock of sheep can also be called a drove? I didn't know that. Thanks to Lucas Crespin for this video as he drove with the sheep on Highway 16 south of Steamboat Springs. I'm glad my drive in the city is never this, I'll just say, bad.
Hey, you know what? Some strong thunderstorms popping up along the far eastern plains. You can see already a little bit of hail coming out of these. Travis Murphy capturing this right outside his front door, it looks like, in Fleming. About pea-sized hail, but we still are keeping a close eye on this storm as it continues to make its march off into Nebraska as well as Kansas. You can see that huge line of thunderstorms. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Kit Carson County. It expires around 6:45, but we have seen 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, penny-size hail within that storm. Here in the metro area, it's been relatively dry but windy. A few isolated storms still popping up in the high country, but the rest of tonight looks pretty good. Tomorrow morning, you wake up 7 a.m., we're good to go. Plenty of sunshine out there. Right after lunchtime, the clouds race through, and then here comes another 1 or 2 thunderstorms across the metro area, producing some gusty winds. Again, not a ton of rain with these. By 7 o'clock, most of the action once again is off across the eastern plains. By 10 o'clock, we are looking really good. If you're grilling out tomorrow, you should be good to go. Temperature still fairly warm, and if you're heading out to take a look at those fireworks shows, numbers in the lower 80s. It's going to be extremely mild. You can see the huge warm-up that's on our hands. Mid-90s on Wednesday and Thursday, close to triple digits. Marshall, welcome to the club. So nice that you decided to cross the street, the better side of Spear Boulevard.
And thanks for never making me get you a coffee like Steve made me.
Never. How rude, Steve.
All right, this impresses me, and I'm a long-distance runner. A man from Cheyenne is already a marathon world record holder, and then he had to go and show off. Brent Weiner now holds the record for running a marathon in the most countries. He checked Madagascar off his list last month, his 133rd country. Okay, runner to runner. Why?
Hello.
Hey, Brent, this is Cody with 9 News.
I am a wild man. I'm having so much fun being retired. I've just been, traveling the world and running as many marathons as I can. Running marathons in new countries is just, my cat's meow. 20 to 24 marathons, countries a year. This year I'm going to break my record. I'll probably have 30 countries done by the end of the year. I'm at 17 right now, and I have 13 more countries scheduled between now and the end of the year. Both our clubs now, I am number one, so that makes me kind of proud. I try not to be too arrogant or egotistical about it, but it's something I enjoy doing. When you die, remember the only thing you take with you, the only thing you really take with you when you die is what you've given away while you're alive. So you might as well be living it the best you can by, following your heart and helping people along the way.
That makes me tired. On top of all that, Brent is also a 3-time cancer survivor. The first time he was diagnosed with lymphoma was when he was just 12 years old. It all started 70 years ago.
We met on a blind date and went to a dance and had a good time.
So put down your dating app and listen to the advice of a couple with 70 years experience. And we introduce you to a young adult who has made it her life goal to stand tall, to help others understand the challenges that those with disabilities face every day. Next. A couple in Canyon City has what we would call hashtag relationship goals. Ferd and Jean Mueller celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary last month. The couple met on a blind date, probably some vintage dating app, and married several years later after Ferd returned from World War II. We talked to Ferd and his son about Ferd and Jean's marriage.
Did you know right away you were going to marry her?
Hell no. How do people know that? We just seemed to enjoy each other on each date that we had, and we loved to dance. We just got to know each other a little bit better each time that we spent time together.
I think he married a stellar woman. I think that they believe in God, and they believe in marriage, and they believe in for better, for worse, and that's what's pulled them through all these years.
Ferd says both he and his wife love to dance. Jean had a stroke a few years ago and was moved into an assisted living home. Ferd went every day until he eventually stopped visiting because he decided it was just better to live there with her. 2 of their kids have been married 40 years. Altogether, they have 31 grandkids, nearly 30 great-grandchildren, and that one elusive great-great-grandchild. Well, as we've said many times before, we are always on a search for interesting people to introduce you to here on Next, who you otherwise might not meet. Today, visual producer Cody Broadway met up with a recent college graduate who believes you should think differently about who you may see walking down the street.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. There'll be someone that comes up, not even comes up, but just comment, oh, look, there was that little person. So I'm like, I have a name, you know? So while, yes, little people is the correct term to use, the vast majority of people would probably tell you, just call us by, you know, our names. My name is Cucus Robledo, and I am the Director of Public Relations of Little People of America. I'm a little person. I was born with spondyloepimetaphyseal dysplasia, but it's also known as SEMD for short. And that just means that my bones grow at a slower rate than most. And I actually stand at 3 feet, 4.5 inches tall, and I'm proud of those 4.5 inches. I did have issues in elementary school where I would get bullied and teased by kids who were younger than me, especially because all my peers were a lot taller than me, and all of them would like stare at me and call me baby and ask me questions like, can you read, can you write? You know, just because we're small, like we can do what we want in life. Like it may be really difficult. Like we have to literally take extra strides to actually, you know, be successful and live a regular day life. But, you know, at the end of the day, like if we put our minds to it, we can do whatever we want. And I think people need to understand that just because we're small, we're not kids. We are, you know, we have jobs, we go to school, we can live independent lives if, you know, if we put our minds to it. When people approach little people, don't look at us like, give us that pity look. And don't assume, oh, can we pick you up? You're so cute. Oh my goodness, you're like a little doll. Oh my gosh. No. We're independent human beings. We're people too. We're not dolls, creatures, or anything. Treat us with respect. Treat us how you would like to be treated, you know, because we deserve the right to be like everyone else.
The Little People of America has a national conference this week in Denver through Thursday. Well, it's a sign that someone did not graduate from CU and probably needs to swing by a zoo next. It's a sign spotted by Next viewer Stephen Johnson. 2 Colorado mountain lion tumblers for $34.98. Unless they're hiding mountain lions inside the tumblers, I'm a little confused, and I'm a CU grad. I'd give the benefit of the doubt knowing that the mascot for University of Colorado, Colorado Springs is a mountain lion, but these are being sold in Boulder's neighbor of Longmont. How about that? All right, you don't have to put up with me tomorrow. Kyle's back without the tie, same suit coats. We'll see you next time.